On today's edition of Cronkite Sports Live, ASU men's hoops set a student section attendance record last night as the Sun Devils took on number 5 UCLA.
Plus, we'll check in live at Mullet Arena to talk about what's gone wrong for ASU hockey as of late.
On top of that, we'll give you an in-depth look at ASU men's swim and what they've done to become the number 1 ranked team in the country. All that and more on Cronkite Sports Live.
We never left here in Studio 6, downtown Phoenix. She's Sammy Miller. I'm Ethan Tuttle. We're so glad to be back here at the desk to bring you all the latest in Arizona State sports. Sammy, we've missed quite a bit since we've been gone for that break, but I'm happy to be back. I know you're happy to be back, and we got a lot to catch people up on.
Yes, we do, Ethan. It was a battle for the number 1 spot in the Pac-12 last night, and let me set the table. Number 5 UCLA against a hungry and gritty ASU squad, and boy was DFA packed to the rim. Look at those fans getting ready to go. And one player that had a very strong start was none other than DJ Horn with that step-back jumper. He would end up having 14 points in the first half alone. Now Desmond Cambridge Jr. with the buzzer beater at half. Look at him go, and head coach Bobby Hurley was fired up for that shot. Now let's shift over to the second half. Tiger Campbell doing what he does best with that mid-range game, making it look so easy. Now Desmond Cambridge with the steal. Buckle your seatbelts, everyone. We're going on a trip around the world with a 360 dunk from the king of dunks. Horn getting it down low to Washington, who gives it to Cambridge, the brother of Desmond. Absolutely incredible shot. Now, let's bring it to Jaime Jaquez, who had a jumper. He was a big reason for UCLA's 16-2 run in the final minutes, and ASU would end up losing 74-62. Here is what head coach Bobby Hurley had to say about the atmosphere in DFA.
First of all, just thank our students and our fans for coming out, and I got chills coming out for that game and seeing what the crowd looked like and the energy and.
Now for the Sun Devils, they will have to put that loss behind them because tomorrow they are facing USC, and then they are taking a trip up north to Washington, then head to Pullman for Washington State, and finally they'll be back home at DFA when they face off against the Oregon State Beavers.
Well, that's a look at the games ahead for the Sun Devils, but I kind of want to go back a night here. We've got Peyton Gallagher at the desk. Peyton, nice having you in here.
Nice to be here.
So let's go through UCLA and ASU last night. Big time contest. DFA was flooded with not only students, but just fans of all sorts. I mean, it was a student attendance record. So ASU not able to get the job done. What did UCLA do the right way, and how did they get the W last night?
Yeah, I've been here a long time. I've never seen DFA jumping like it was last night, and that's a good sign for this program as they make progress this year after 2 years missing the tournament. That said, you've had 2 tests now against Arizona, UCLA, and you've come up short at home in both. So the question becomes, what's the answer? How does this team get over that hump? And basketball is a complicated game, but this one was pretty simple. ASU had 1 field goal in the last 6 minutes of the contest. It got outscored 16-2. Elsewise, it was a 6-point margin one way or the other the entire game. ASU's right there. They just had a couple of gaffes offensively at the end, some poor shot selection, and ultimately it comes down to sometimes the ball just doesn't go in the hoop. That's the cruelty and beauty of basketball, and that was the case in this one. They just didn't make shots at the end of the game. So, yeah, there are some margins that they can clean up. They got beat really badly in turnover points. UCLA had 20 plus, ASU was in single digits there. ASU had a second season high in turnovers, or most since this season opener against Tarleton State. Sure, that stuff matters. Bobby Hurley will tell you it matters, and it's because it does. But you don't make shots at the end of the game, you don't win, especially against a good and veteran team like UCLA.
Couldn't agree more. So 19 games into the season now for the Sun Devils. kind of what's the identity of this team in your opinion?
So there's a song, I don't know if you've heard it, it's this song, I Just Want to Rock, Lil Uzi Vert,
Yeah, I know that one. I know that one.
That's the offense. So they just kind of vibe out. They kind of get shots up, they do what they want to do. Early in the year, Desmond Cambridge said to us in media availability, I don't think Bobby Hurley's told me at any point that that's a bad shot. And that's the mentality of this team. They've got shot makers. They've got high flyers like Devin Cambridge, guys that can get guys out of their seats in the arena. So that's a good thing. The hard part about the offense is that they don't get a lot of dribble penetration when they're playing equal opponents like UCLA. So that ball screen action, Frankie Collins has to find ways to get into the lane because then they become lethal. Whether it's hitting the short roll to Warren Washington and letting him play make in those areas, or getting it to the weak side corner, which is a pass Frankie's capable of, or just getting to the rim himself, getting fouled, getting layups. That's a step that they probably need to take offensively in these last 10 or so games. But defensively, that's the identity. Because the defense is so daggum good, the offense can come and go, and they can wait to find it in a game because they're going to stay in it like they did against UCLA for the first 34 minutes.
ASU's won some tough games against some tough teams, some of them even on the road. So how does their resume stack up compared to some of the other teams in the country for the NCAA tournament?
Sure, so today they're 44th in the net. They were 39th coming into last night. The big problem for ASU is they've beaten the teams they've been supposed to beat. They've not beaten the teams that maybe are above their punching weight. So, again, I mentioned U of A, UCLA. They missed out on those opportunities, and they've been hurt by the fact that Michigan was supposed to be a tournament team. They very much so are not a tournament team today. Creighton was supposed to be better than they are. They're starting to find it now, but they're not going to be that top 5 caliber team that they were thought to be coming into the year. So for ASU, you're looking at it now, you're 44th in the net. 36 at-large bids make it. So they're right there on the precipice of being on the wrong side of the bubble. If they lose a couple games to teams they shouldn't, Cal, Washington, those type of teams. So for them, they've got to build up some credit in the bank. They've got to go beat U of A on the road. They've got to go beat USC at home coming up tomorrow. UCLA and USC on the road to close the year. That's the kind of win I think they need to get in Quadrant 1 to bolster that resume and just kind of have that eye popper, that bullet point at the top of the resume that's going to attract the right kind of attention come Selection Sunday.
Absolutely. Plenty of action still to come with Sun Devil men's hoops. Thank you so much, Peyton, for joining me here on the desk. Now we've got something special in store today with a brand new segment full of fun facts from our own Ben Paris. Ben?
Over the next 60 seconds, I will tell you all the fast facts you need to know to get caught up with Sun Devil men's hoops. Now let's get the time on the clock, and here we go. 1. With a 15-4 record, ASU has tied its best 19-game start under Bobby Hurley. 2. At 6-2 in Pac-12 play, the Sun Devils are off to their best conference start in 29 years. 3. ASU has not been outscored in the paint during conference play this season. 4. ASU completed a road sweep of the Oregon schools last week for the first time in 14 seasons. 5. All 4 of ASU's come-from-behind wins have come away from Desert Financial Arena. 6. The Sun Devils are undefeated when scoring 70-plus points this season. They've done it 11 times. 7. ASU has had 20 or more assists as a team 5 times already this season. 8. The Sun Devils have committed more fouls than any Pac-12 team with nearly 19 every game. And 9. The 942 crew shattered the record for student attendance at a basketball game last night with over 5,500 in attendance, beating the previous record by over 1,500. That's your Nugget Minute. We send it back to you.
Ben, you're making me hungry over there. I hope you save me a few. But anyways, DFA will be rocking once again tonight as ASU Wrestling and ASU Gymnastics will be sharing the floor for this year's Beauty and the Beast event. It's been a few years since the two programs have taken the stage together, but our own Jack Bartlett is in Tempe with the full story on this unique event.
Thanks, guys. I am just outside of Desert Financial Arena, where in just a few hours, the first Beauty and the Beast event will be held since 2020. It's an event that consists of both the gymnastics team and the wrestling team competing in the same arena within just minutes of each other. It's an event that's very special to both teams, and I got the opportunity to ask both players and coaches from both teams why it's so special to them.
Yeah, it's cool. It's obviously, I think for the fans, they get an opportunity to watch a couple sports. I think, the sports are similar in some way. There's a lot of tumbling and rolling, and whether it's on the mat or in gymnastics, wrestling, right? But You know, I think fans that enjoy sports, athletics, and really seeing true athletic ability, you're watching, you know, two sports that exemplify that, and I think it's a lot of fun. And the crowds have been really good. The couple times I've done it here, it's been really cool.
Back in 2020, ASU Wrestling competed against Cal Poly and will again tonight. Meanwhile, ASU Gymnastics last competed against Oregon State in this event, but it will host Stanford this time around. With two sports going on at once, Coach Jones reminds his guys to stay grounded during the Beauty and the Beast event.
Still, regardless of all the energy and things that are happening around you, you got to stay in the present, in the moment, in yourself, in your circle, your opponent, your time, and, you know, execute and do what you're supposed to do, right? I mean, don't get caught up in the external, right? Stay right in your moment with yourself and, you know, have a clear mind.
It's also a nice touch to two teams who are a tightly knit group.
We're close with some of the wrestlers, so like knowing that they're like over there, like hearing their name getting called like while you're going or when you're like about to go is really fun. Like honestly, I thought it would like throw me off a little, but it was really fun. I liked it.
The match begins at 7 p.m. for both teams as they both begin their conference schedule. It should be a fun one to say the least. From Cronkite Sports, this has been Jack Bartlett.
Thanks, Jack. Let's hone in on the wrestling component of tonight's event. We now bring in our wrestling reporter, Kellen Croxton, to catch us up with the latest of Sun Devil wrestling. Kellen, after the Sun Devils won those first two duels of their season, they lost the last three. Should Sun Devil fans be worried?
Yeah, obviously, like, you aren't going to feel good about yourself when you lost 3 duels in a row, especially after winning the first two over, you know, nationally ranked number 3 at the time, Mizzou. But there's been a lot of changes, especially with the team, and they were firing at all cylinders whenever they went against Mizzou, and they've kind of changed a lot, especially at 157, Ja'Cory Teamer was injured, and then at 165, Anthony Valencia has graduated since last year, so they've had some issues, and then in the upper weight classes, they've had some wrestlers missing, such as Cordell Norfleet, Tony Negron, and Colton Schultz. These past couple matches haven't been the complete team that we're trying to look for. But at the same time, these wrestlers are growing into themselves, especially this season. Without Gable Stevenson, you know, Colton Schultz is being able to focus at 285. He came in as the consensus #1 wrestler in the heavyweights. So really, there's some struggles with the overall team, but come NCAAs, I think we're going to see some really good results from the Sun Devils.
And a big reason for the Sun Devils' recent struggles is they're missing a lot of their key wrestlers. So what do you think ASU will need to do in this back end of the season?
Yeah, obviously, I mean, the alarms aren't going off in the mat room right now, and the main reason for that is because Pac-12 and NCAA is really all that matters in the wrestling season. It's not like football or volleyball where, you know, the regular season's going to determine if you go to the postseason or not. All really that happens with wrestling is that the regular season determines, you know, what seed you're going to be in Pac-12. Every school is going to send a wrestler for each of the 10 weight classes, and then the top 2 or 3 wrestlers in those weight classes are going to go to the national tournament. So really they're just trying to focus on keeping the wrestlers healthy, looking at key matchups, and just focusing on those into the season tournaments.
And like you mentioned, how the Sun Devils play and are able to do in the Pac-12, that will influence their seeding. So how much do you think the Sun Devils are really able to rely on that cushion that they're having?
Yeah, so they want to answer 2 big questions with that cushion. First is, you know, what's happening right now at 125. They have Brandon Courtney, 3 times Pac-12 champion, multiple-time All-American, the established guy, but he's a redshirt senior. Yeah, this is last year to wrestle for the Sun Devils. And then new kid on the block, Richard Figueroa, is 12-0, and they kind of sprinkled him in. They've had in the Princeton duel where Brandon Courtney lost to Patrick Glory. They also did an exhibition match with Figueroa where he moved from 11-0 to 12-0. So you got this top 10 guy that you already have that's experienced, that's already been a multiple-time All-American, and then you got this new kid on the block that's really starting to show out, hasn't lost a match all season, but you got to send one of them Pac-12. So how do you choose which one goes? And then, you know, onto the bad problems, they have 165, 174, 184. Without Valencia, they tried to put Tony Negron in there, but he's seen some struggles, seen some tech falls not go his way, and they've had some struggles, so they need to see, like, hey, do we need to recruit another guy at 165, or is this Penn State transfer, you know, going to settle it all for us? And 174 and 184 have been a big issue for the Sun Devils these past couple years, and they just need to figure out, hey, do we need to get new kids, or is there going to be a wrestler within this cushion period that you talked about that's going to be able to step up and going to be able to be like, hey, now we can focus on a different weight class?
Well, thank you so much for your incredible insight, Kellen. The wrestling squad will be in action tonight as they take on Cal Poly at 7 p.m.
Coming off one of its worst losses of the season in Minnesota State, and with an 11-14 record, Sun Devil hockey needs to find a serious string of W's if the team wants to have a shot at postseason play. After some of the program stamping wins earlier in the season, things have started to trail off. The team is now number 33 in the pairwise rankings, and head coach Greg Powers knows that things have to change ASAP.
And our guys stopped playing. They stopped playing for that entire period. Why? I have no idea. But to a man, they just, in that second period, absolutely manhandled us. So our guys have to wash it, and obviously not allowed to happen again.
Definitely not what you want to be hearing from your head coach. And to help assess some of the recent woes head coach Greg Powers and company have been having, we bring in WCSN writer-reporter Sean Brennan live from Mullet Arena. Sean, I want to hear from you. What exactly has gone wrong with Sun Devil hockey lately?
Well, Ethan, ever since ASU's program-defining victory against Minnesota in late November, the offense has really struggled, specifically on the power play. In the 10 games following that overtime thriller against U of M, ASU has gone just 5 for 35 on the man advantage and is scoreless in their last 10 opportunities. Now, it also doesn't help that ASU really isn't getting much production from some of their top gunners. Josh Doan and Lucas Sillinger, who are often on the first line, have just 8 combined points in the last 10 games. So if ASU wants to put together a run and keep their slim postseason hopes alive, those two guys are going to have to get going.
And Sean, with an 11-14 record and 14 regular season games left on the schedule, is there any chance ASU could sneak into the NCAA tournament still?
Well, at the beginning of the season, Ethan, it was really not too far-fetched to think that ASU would be playing hockey in late March. But after last weekend's Minnesota State series, the postseason aspirations really are looking like a pipe dream. They're going to have to win out, and they're going to need some outside help too. However, there is some good news, and that is that ASU still has the opportunity to pick up quality wins. Number 21 RIT in the pairwise that it is coming to Tempe this weekend, and ASU is going to see Alaska Fairbanks, who's number 20 in the pairwise, 4 times before the season is done. So those are some opportunities to really boost that resume.
Yeah, Sean, you talked a little bit about RIT coming up tonight. What can you tell us about that program, who ASU is facing off against tonight and tomorrow in the RIT team?
Well, historically, this has been a good matchup for ASU. Ever since they became a program in 2015, they are 6-0 against the Tigers. The caveat to that is that ASU hasn't seen an RIT team this good. As I mentioned, they're number 21 in the pairwise rankings. They have a 15-6-1 record. That puts them atop the Atlantic Hockey Conference. And what I'm looking for from ASU this weekend is their discipline. Last weekend, they took a lot of lazy penalties. Greg Powers thought that a lot of them were avoidable. And RIT has a top 10 power play in the nation. So ASU isn't going to want to mess around with this man advantage. And really, if they want a shot at taking these 2 games, what they need to do to keep their season alive, they have to play smart hockey and avoid those lazy penalties.
Sean, you're looking good as always. Thanks for keeping us up to date, and good luck to you out there tonight at the Mullet.
Thanks, Ethan.
The Pac-12 is called the Conference of Champions for a reason. It is extremely difficult to play in a conference that is strong from top to bottom, and for Coach Adair and her squad, they have yet to be a Pac-12 competitor this season. Our women's basketball reporter Blake Neiman has more on the challenges the Sun Devils have faced with this week's Impact segment.
The Pac-12 is dominating the AP Top 25 women's basketball poll. 6 out of the 12 members of the conference are ranked within the top 25, with 3 of those coming inside the top 10. While the rest of the conference is soaring to the top, Arizona State is left trailing the rest of the pack. The Sun Devils' 0-7 conference record ranks among the worst starts to Pac-12 play in program history and currently has them at the bottom of the standings. Their struggles to keep up with their conference competitors has been put on full display. ASU has a negative 18.6 point differential, being outscored by Pac-12 opponents 82 to 63.4 points per game. The Sun Devils' low scoring is a direct correlation to their inefficient shooting, which stands at just 36.7% from the field. Not only are the Maroon and Gold losing the battle on the scoreboard, they're also getting beat in the paint. Pac-12 opponents on average outdo ASU on the boards by more than 10 rebounds a game. With Arizona State embarking upon the second part of their Pac-12 schedule this upcoming weekend, Coach Adair is going to have to act fast or her Sun Devils will get left in the dust.
You're exactly right, Blake. The Sun Devils have no time to waste, and to get us prepared for what this team will need to do when they take on their rivals, the University of Arizona, let's whip around to our team of women's basketball reporters. Tia, let's start with you.
Thanks, Sammy. Last time ASU and Arizona faced off, the Wildcats' 84-66 victory was boosted by a season-worst 56 points allowed in the paint by the Sun Devils. Defense down low has been a struggle for ASU all year, and in this season's first rendition of the Territorial Cup, Arizona's Esmery Martinez and Shayna Pellington took advantage of the Sun Devils' deficiencies. In just 24 minutes of play, Martinez bullied ASU for 21 points, 18 of which came from within the paint. And using her speed on both fast breaks and in half-court sets, Pellington fouled 12 of her 14 points from within 15 feet. If ASU wants a better result this time around, protecting the paint will be key. For more on what ASU can do offensively to get the win, here's Alexis Davis.
Thanks, Tia. Now, although the Sun Devils did not pull out a victory against their in-state rival, the Wildcats, one puzzle that fits seamlessly together was Skinner and shooting. Now, for this guard, she scored 26 points, and before that game, no other guard has scored that many points on the Wildcats. The Wildcats also do not currently have a player that's averaging more than 20 points. Another thing that's going to be a very, very big key for the Sun Devils is to get fired up and to get fired up early. The last time these two faced off, the Sun Devils had 12 points and Arizona had 26 points in the first quarter. It's going to be really important for them to get that early boost and to maintain it throughout the whole game.
Thanks, guys. So we've seen the floor, we've talked hockey, now let's go take a dip. Sun Devils swimming has been raking in attention for years with terrific performances in the pool. Now Max Zepeda gives us a look at the Sun Devils and how they're shaping up ahead of NCAA championships later this spring.
While many sports at ASU gain national attention for their involvement in more popular sports nationwide, one that will be making much noise heading into 2023 is the men's Sun Devil Swimmers. For the first time in program history, the residents of Mona Plummer Aquatic Center received the #1 ranking in the nation from the CSCAA, and their success is evident across their roster. Head coach Bob Bowman's squad has been dominating opponents throughout this season, with all 4 of their wins all being blowouts, being against currently ranked opponents like number 20 Wisconsin and number 17 USC. And the swimming Sun Devils have even shattered a few school records in the process. Back in November at the NC State Invite, which featured 7 prominent swimming schools, ASU was crowned Invite champions after multiple record-breaking performances from star Sun Devils like Jack Dolan, Max McCusker, and Leon Marchand. In Leon's case, he won every race he participated in at the competition, a performance that was highly influential in receiving Pac-12 Swimmer of the Month for November. The Devils now have a 3-meet homestand to conclude the regular season, with all of their remaining opponents being in the top 20 in the nation, including the number 17 squad in the school down south. I'm Max Zepeda for Cronkite Sports.
Challenging road ahead for the ASU swim team, and we've actually got Max in studio to help us understand what the end of the season could look like with the team's success. So Max, as you mentioned, just 3 meets remain, including the Stanford meet that is taking place as we speak. What can we expect from this team as the year winds down?
Yes, so once the regular season concludes, ASU will head to Tacoma, Washington on March 1st to begin the Pac-12 tournament, where they will be competing to possibly achieve their first team conference title in school history, guaranteeing the entire roster a trip to the national championships in late March to compete for their first ever team national title. However, if they cannot win the Pac-12 tournament, individual swimmers can still be invited to Minneapolis based on tournament performance. In fact, star sophomore Leon Marchand won 2 individual national titles just last year in the 200-meter IM and breaststroke. But with ASU currently sitting atop the rankings, this could very well be their best chance to claim the title of the best swimmers in the nation.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Max. Stay tuned for results from today's meet at CronkiteSports.com.
This past fall, the Arizona State women's soccer team graduated one of their most talented senior classes of all time, headlined by striker Nicole Douglas, playmaker Ava Van Dersen, and midfielder and captain Alexia Delgado. Our WCSN soccer reporter Devin Henderson has more on the future of these 3 Sun Devil stars.
Thanks, guys. Now, this trio was the heartbeat of a team that finished with a 9-6-3 record and an NCAA tournament berth while racking in many individual awards as well. Van Dersen was second team all-conference and recently signed a contract to join Bayern Leverkusen in the Frauen Bundesliga League, the top women's league in Germany. She finished her career tied for the ASU career assist record, and she's looking to bring that dynamic playmaking to Deutschland. Douglas concluded her decorated Arizona State career as the all-time leader in goals with 60, as well as twice being named All-American and All-Conference. For the Pac-12, she was named Pac-12 Forward of the Year, first-team All-Pac-12, and second-team All-American for her dominant senior season. She was drafted third round at 26 overall to the Washington Spirits in the NWSL draft. Delgado, who was second-team All-Conference, signed to play for Cruz Azul in the Liga MX Femenil in Mexico. She will be showcasing her ability professionally in one of the most soccer-crazed countries in the world. Her leadership, ball control, and ability to run a game will be sorely missed in Tempe. Right now, congratulations are in order for the 3 former Sun Devils turned pro as they all begin their professional careers representing the maroon and gold.
Thanks so much for that news on soccer and where some of those women's soccer players from the Sun Devils are going to be heading, Devin. Great stuff there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the upcoming football schedule for the next season. It just got released. Oklahoma State, USC, and Colorado, kind of that three-headed monster there in the first half of the season, Sammy.
And Ethan, my eyes go directly to October 7th. It's going to be Coach Prime versus Coach Dillingham. That is definitely going to be some must-see college football.
Absolutely. Coach Prime kind of just revamping that Colorado program so far, it seems like. So it's going to be interesting to see where they end up. And then it's going to be Washington and Washington State in the later half of October. And then, of course, Utah, UCLA, Oregon, and Arizona to finish off the end of the season. 4 really tough games there. Let's go ahead and check out some top plays. Is it number 3? We already saw this one earlier, but Desmond Cambridge has a little something special for us again. There's that 360 dunk, making it look easy there. It's a big-time play by a big-time player.
And for number 2, Desmond Cambridge wasn't the only one turning heads. Mikhail McGee literally was on the mat, locking up a cradle on Anthony Clark. McGee went on to win the match by tech fall, but the Sun Devils ended up dropping the duel to Princeton 24-12.
32-29 with 3 seconds left. UCLA able to get that bucket at the free throw line, and this brother-to-brother connection straight to the hands of Desmond Cambridge. Splash down right into the bottom of the basket. Beautiful shot. Bobby Hurley fired up. The entire team having fun with that one. Of course, UCLA would eventually go on to take that win. Well, Sun Devil men's hoops will be back at DFA for a matchup with USC on Saturday, so a chance to get some revenge against those, California schools, Sammy.
Yes, and that's it for us today on this edition of Cronkite Sports Live. But make sure you continue to tune in every single Friday for all things ASU athletics and a whole lot of fun. For Ethan Tuttle, I'm Sammy Miller. Have a great weekend, everyone.